Hi, I'm Hubert Sinners. Welcome to Absolute Wealth's weekly edition of Sinners Strategies. Let's take a look at this week's strategy. In this week's strategy, let's talk about going against the crowd. You will almost always come out ahead if you go in the opposite direction of almost everybody else in the market. It's very counterintuitive, but it's usually very profitable. So here's how you do it. This is in a nutshell how it's done. First, you're just going to scan some news stories, and you need to stay abreast of the situation. In other words, you need to know what's going on in the world. All right? A couple of the easy ways to do it. Just use CNBC's website, and you can also use Bloomberg. And cruise it for some headlines. And what you're going to do is you're going to look for core or swing trades. They're not really day trades. They're more long-term investings or actively managed investments where you're going to put a stop in and a target. So what we're looking at here is big headlines. Why Europe's central bank rift is rattling the market so bad. You come back down here and Greece's Euro membership is hanging by a thread. Greece race to catch up to reforms seems doomed. All right, you go over to Bloomberg. Stocks Euro tumble on Greece's debt concern. Now, believe it or not, if Greece actually defaults on their debt, that will be a good thing. Now, it won't be a good thing initially, so it's going to sell off like crazy. When it sells off, once the sell-off stops and you get a hedge fund buy signal, that's where you're going to step in and buy that. And I'm going to explain all the details, so let's go through the details of the trade. Now, also, if Greece defaults, you'll probably have Italy, Spain, and maybe Ireland, and maybe another country or two that defaults. Now, it's just like cleaning out your garage in the spring or the summer. It's a pain in the butt to do, but, you know, if you're bankrupt, you should just file bankruptcy and just get it over with. Now, what they're trying to do right now is they're trying to act like they're not bankrupt and just kind of skirted under the carpet, and you can't really do that and start off fresh. So the trade that we're talking about here is going counter trend of what everybody else is talking about. All right, now this is the euro. This is the euro USD. It's a spot currency. In other words, it's the over-the-counter forex. Now notice that there's no volume, so what I'm going to do is I'm also going to chart the euro currency future. One's a future, one's a spot, one's retail, one's a future. And you can see that there's pretty good volume on this sell-off, so that's good. So now I'm going to go back to the spot market. And what you're going to look for is first, see if you can see anything in the past. Oh, I got the wrong contract here. Let me fix that really quickly. What you're going to look for in the past is any support. Now, we've broken this support, okay? And, we've already went over support and resistance in an earlier strategy, so we've broken support, so that's going to become resistance. The only other support that I see would be down here in this area of 134.78, and then you also have this area down here, all right, which is $1.2877. Don't buy it on the sell-off. Wait until it bottoms and bounces up one time. This is what a hedge fund buy signal looks for, or looks like. So let's pretend that this is the low. It is not the low, but let's pretend it is. And the time frame I'm looking for here is a daily chart. So what you're going to do is we're going to pretend that this is the low. All right. If we mark that, let me grab my pencil and I'll draw exactly what I mean, and then I'll show you on another chart. All right. So I've got my pen here. We're going to consider this the low. Okay. And this would be the high of the low bar. As soon as you get price action that closes above the high watermark of the low bar, that will be your long entry, and you can use a stop slightly below these lows. All right, and obviously make sure that you're using a stop loss, and then you can have targets above your entry. All right, so let's find one that worked lately so that you can see a visual representation of it. So here's a really good example, and it'll kind of jump out at you when you see it. So this is crude oil on a daily, but it's the same tactic that you're going to employ. This is the low bar. That's the low of the low bar. This is the high of the low bar. That's the high of the low that was put in place on that sell-off. This bar does not it's not considered a close above the high of the low bar because it did not close above the high watermark of that, but this candlestick did. So either if you get an execution or a close above that line right there, then you would be long either at 0.1 or at 0.2 with a stop loss down here. And then obviously on this one, you can see it ran for you, it retraced a little bit, and now it's continuing to go a little bit higher. So that is it. So remember, you want to almost always be on the opposite side that everybody else is on. It usually just works out better for you profit-wise. Number 2, wait for the sell-off to happen. Wait for a hedge fund buy signal where you get a low. You mark the high water mark of the low bar. The next time you get price action that either closes above or executes above the high of that low bar, then your job is to get long. Good luck. Hope it helps, and I'll see you next week.